Hello, boxing fans, and welcome to a midweek hate show. I'm your host, Kurt Ward, and I'm joined by Andy Patterson, Adam Smith, Paul Webb, and I think Alex Morris is around somewhere. But first of all, we've got the news that Tyson Fury is probably going to be stripped of one of his world titles after his great win in Germany on Saturday. Andy, I mean, we've shit on the belts for a long time now, but I mean, nothing surprises you now. But what do you think of this latest bullshit?
It's exactly what you say, mate. It's bullshit. I mean, we're supposed to be trying to enter an era. I think at least three of the organisations had a meeting about 18 months ago. They were trying to kind of come to some sort of consensus where we can get one clear, undisputed, or one universally recognised champion. Because as everybody knows, it's all fragmented. And I think Peter Fury basically said it best today. He says it's pathetic and it's disgusting circumstances. I mean, what else are you going to do? I mean, um, Alex was telling me apparently Cathy Doover's not interested in step aside money, so unless Tyson shows the IBF the contract that he's got with Klitschko that states that there's no wiggle room, he's got to take him on a rematch. He can't take a voluntary defence. He's going to have to get stripped of his title, and this was always going to happen. I fear that actually. I think although I rated Klitschko as probably a top 10, top 15 all-time great heavyweight and stuff, I don't want to sound bad by saying this, but I knew the second if once he lost the titles, and I kind of felt it wouldn't be long until those titles started getting fragmented and broken up and stuff, and everybody else starts laying claim. Now I know Tyson's obviously got the main claim, the lineal champion, but how many times is the lineal champion overlooked by some of these promoters and promotions and TV shows? I mean, you got Deontay Wilder going about their WBC title on the PBC. There is hardly any mention. I mean, they can't even get his fucking name right when he was champion at the time. Vladimir Klitschko was, Vladimir Klitschkov or something like that. They called him back in NBC a few months back or a few weeks back when Wilder was fighting. It's a total farce, and we're no way clearer as to get undisputed champion. And I know people are going to say, yeah, but the thing is, he's still the lineal champion, and the lineal title carries no trinkets. I know that, I know all that, but I just don't want to have people breaking up the belts, having other people fight for these titles, and allowing them to be calling themselves world heavyweight champion when, in essence, that they aren't. They're just frauds. There's only one man in the division that matters just now, and that's Tyson Fury. End of discussion.
Well, as you said, I mean, when you had a one dominant champion, at least you had that there, no matter what happened. But it looks like it's going to go back to the dark days of about 10 years ago when you had four different guys holding belts, like Hasim Rahman, Sam Peter, Valiev, Lamont Brewster. Four guys, none of them are actually very good. None of them's a clear number one. They're just holding titles, and it's a bad look for the heavyweight division. And also, I think today Glasgow's manager has come out and said they're not going to take a fight with Deontay Wilder, which they were supposed to be close to doing for the WBC title, because obviously now their lucks came in. I
Yeah.
mean, they're going to get an easier fight now for the IBF bout, and it's just a bad thing for boxing. And the manager actually has a Bellew of the Week nomination for saying it's great for the heavyweight division because you get more champions and more challengers. I mean,
Kurt, well, I'm going to claim I'm going to be a bit of Mystic Meg here because I said on Saturday's pissed up show and Sunday's more level-headed show, I posed the question: how long can the Furies keep hold of the belts for? How long will they put up with the mandatory madness that's going to come? It's because it's not easy for Mick with his small, well, almost one-man stable. It's not going to be easy for him to put on four fights, big events, 4 fights a year in the UK, and that's what you need. Klitschko was having, two shite and one good, and then three shite and one good, and with Povetkin and Hay maybe classed as the good, and Leopai and others classed as the bad. I don't think the Team Fury were going to be able to do that for very long. I mean, but the timing of it's terrible, man. This should be a changing of the guard, a new era. Fury is good for business. He sells tickets. He brings interest. He's generally quite exciting in the ring. And yet the IBF, I know they're following their own rules, and that's a good point that Alex, if he was here, would make. We're calling them every name under the sun for following their own rules, which makes a pleasant change and is normally applauded by people on here. But the timing of it's terrible. And they're actually losing out on money, through, the Fury and Klitschko is the fight that creates a lot of money. But I think regardless of what the IBF do, the rematch will still happen and it will still create a shed load of money.
Can I just say, can I add to that actually? I think Adam's right actually as well about the money situation. But one thing I want to add to that, I remember a time with the Panamanian organisation. Remember when Duran beat Aram Bartley and he had the rubber match with Sugar Ray Leonard? I think the way the catch weight worked out, the Panamanians ended up stripping him of his title, and then I think it was Mike McCallum. Now, how much was that title worth when Mike McCallum's name attached to it, rather than Roberto Duran's? This is going to be the same situation with IBF. How much is that title worth with Vladimir Klitschko as champion or Tyson Fury as champion compared to Vladimir Glaskov or Vladislav Glaskov, whatever his fucking name is? How much is that title worth to the IBF? About fucking 2 bob and a packet of crisps.
It's just absolute nonsense. I mean, it just dilutes the titles before. I mean, we're saying everything we've said for ages now. I mean, Glassclough as a world champion doesn't want to. He's not fighting the best guy. He's not fighting the next guy. He's not fighting Deontay Wilder. He's fighting Charles Martin. Is it? Who's ever heard of him? I mean, it's not good enough. I mean, Paul, we haven't heard your thoughts on this shit. What do you think?
I do find it slightly ironic that we're moaning about the sanctioning body enforcing a mandatory, which, bear in mind, the IBF's last mandatory was a step aside so the Fury fight could happen. So we're complaining that a sanctioning body is following its rules. The timing seems very abrupt and very quick, but this happens all the time. So when there's a world title fight, especially one like this where something changes hands, the IBF send the letters out straight away. You have X amount of days to negotiate this fight. That's just how it works in every division. The only reason we're finding it quite strange is because we've been so used to the heavyweights basically being a one-man operation, or one and a half if you count Deontay Wilder's title. So we sort of ignore the fact that Vlad has had this sent to him numerous times. He's either faced a mandatory, or there's been a step-aside option, which the mandatory's taken, or he's managed to fight officially defending another belt, or facing that sanctioning body's mandatory challenger. I have no issue that the IBF have done what they've done. The timing doesn't seem great, but it's the publicity, it's the publicised fact of the timing more than anything else. Should Tyson Fury be able to rematch Klitschko over defending the IBF belt? Yes, but the IBF have already had one step aside. Is it fair that their mandatory challenger should have to have two step asides, especially if they're not going to get any sort of financial compensation for that? Having said all of that, Tyson Fury doesn't need to have the IBF belt to defend when he fights Klitschko next year. It doesn't make it any less of a fight. It doesn't make it any less meaningful. It's just nice to have all the belts on the line if possible. But this is what Fury's got to get used to now. If you remember when Roy Jones held multiple belts, he had the same thing. He had mandatories coming out of his ears, and some he managed to step aside and keep out of the way of, or he just didn't fancy it, or the TV networks didn't fancy it. Others he couldn't, and he ended up fighting a lot of trash. Now, as I pointed out earlier, Klitschko's fought a lot of trash over the last few years. And Tyson Fury, if he wants to be the unified heavyweight champion, not every fight is going to be a Deontay Wilder or a David Haye or Anthony Joshua. They're all not going to be mega events. Sometimes he's going to have to fight some Eastern European who's worked for the rankings legitimately, or legitimately in terms of what we class the rankings, any version of legitimate is, and he's got to fight him. I mean, vacate if he doesn't want to defend the belt, no problem, vacate it. That's my opinion on it. There's no reason why he should have to hold all the belts. He only needs one of the belts, really. However, the point that Adam made earlier was bang on, and I said it on the pod on Sunday. I don't know if it was Adam or Kurt that said it. We are going to head back to the days where the belts were passed between other people every 3 or 4 months. But we've been used to seeing one dominant champion, where hardly any of the weight classes have that. We're used to seeing multiple champions in other weights. We've just not been used to it in heavyweights because it's been so one-sided for a decade.
My question to everyone is, just moving away from the IBF slightly, the contract rematch. My opinion is that would be a Klitschko thing. He will be still in the driving seat. As for location, etc., my opinion, what do you guys think? Who asks for it? Who controls it?
Standard practice for Klitschko.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Rematch clause is always the case, because I remember when Vitaly was still active. If Vladimir, for instance, lost the fight, then there was am I right, Kurt, saying as he either had to fight Vitaly or Vladimir in his next fight.
Yeah, I
but
mean
the mandatory, so it's a bit. I know it's standard, but with it being two mandatories, it is a little bit of a surprise, and
yeah.
possibly the only time we've come across a rematch in a mandatory fight for a little while, really. Certainly for myself.
I think there's two ways of looking at it. There's like people who will say Mick made a mistake, that this is a mandatory and Tyson Fury should be the one in control. But from another way, you look at it and like they didn't want to. As it was going to purse bid, it was like Warren and the Russian guy were going to have control of the fight. They were going to win the purse bid, and we know that they were because he showed the purse bid afterwards, and it was for huge money.
18 million.
Mick didn't want that. Mick wanted to be working with Bert Bonte K2, and Tyson said himself, the rematch they signed for it, knowing it was going to be worth more money than the first fight, and apparently Tyson's earned quite a few million for this fight, so he's beat Klitschko once. Why won't he fancy doing it again? And from that point of view, yeah, you got to say, it's the good thing for him to do. I mean, who the house does he make any of the money with? That's the problem with Tyson Fury. When Klitschko held all the bouts, he was the money guy. He was the guy who could, control everything. But with Tyson Fury and Mick Hennessy, it's more tougher for them now. They can't fill 60,000 stadiums, and when you got mandatories left, right, and centre because you have 3 world titles, it's a lot tougher. Go on, Paul, what was you going to say?
No, I was going to say, agree, and like I said, the driving seats very much with the Klitschko's because they bring the money, as you just said. I was agreeing, sort of nodding along there, because they have obviously the TV networks, they have the guarantee they can sell out stadiums. Now, Klitschko Fury may do a football stadium in the UK, but it's a may rather than a definite, and RTL wouldn't put up as much money for that sort of a fight. Vladimir signed a 5-fight deal with RTL. They still want him on their channel. I think that his camp will definitely think they can win the fight. I think Fury's camp are full of confidence. There's going to be more money for them in the rematch. It makes total sense for them to take that rematch option because, let's be honest, he won the fight easily. If someone offered you more money to do the same easy job twice, why wouldn't you do it? So I think the rematch will definitely happen. I think it's just a case of where and when. I think it will be Germany 100%, and I think it will be April, May of next year. I don't see any financial benefit to them coming to the UK.
Well, as if I've not already lost enough money on the fight, William Hill have offered odds on where the location of the rematch will be, and I think they've got it wrong, frankly. There was 1-2 London, which I think is absurd. There was 5-1 Dusseldorf, 8-1 Manchester, 20-1 Dublin, or 5-1 any other city. So given that we all agree, and I definitely think that Klitschko holds the cards, I've backed Dusseldorf and any other city because Klitschko, it's been a bit of a roadshow. He's been Cologne, Hamburg, Gelsenkirchen, etc., etc.
You've got to look at the stadiums. What I've heard is it's going to be in Germany, and what I've heard is the 2 stadiums that are available around the time are Dusseldorf and Gelsenkirchen. It's going to be one of those 2, in my opinion.
I don't know if they'll go. I mean, Dusseldorf was for a very specific reason because it had a roof. So because of the weather and the time of year, I don't know if they'd necessarily go back there. I think they'd probably cheaper options in terms of stadium hire, which would get the same amount of revenue at the gate. So with it being that time of year, obviously if we are looking to sort of May next year, then the need for a roof may lesser. That's the only real reason why Dusseldorf was picked in the first place. I mean, it wasn't taken because it was an easy option for travelling fans. I mean, when they fought in Hamburg for the Hay fight, that it wasn't really done for that reason. It was just a case of what was available at the time. But Klitschko can sell out a stadium in any city in Germany.
Can I just weigh in with something else here about the IBF? I know these rankings are slightly out of date, but the number 2 spot for the IBF is actually not rated. Glasgow's number 1. At that time, Fury was number 3, so he'll be the champion now. Okay, so you would have Charles Martin move up to number 3, Erkin Tepper up to number 4. Now, is it coincidence that Tepper pulled out his fight against Hellenius with an apparent arm injury? Now all this shit, that's off, mate. Yeah, I got off yesterday. So you know what's happening here. I think Tepper's now hedging his bets, hoping he's then going to get the number 2 spot, and he's going to get the fucking vacant title shot against Glasgow.
Yeah,
put your money on that one.
Good point.
Now, obviously, if Charles Martin then gets a call, he then will probably lose his mandatory spot with WBO. So that then frees up Tyson for a WBO mandatory. He maybe have to end up facing Joseph Parker because Glasgow's number 4 with WBO, and below Parker you've got Povetkin. So Povetkin's hanging on for the Wilder fight, obviously, as well, you know. So
It's just so annoying. I mean, we as fans just want to see the best fights, and I think Paul said it. You know, they can take this bout off Fury, and until Tyson Fury's beaten in the ring, he's the man in the division. You know, it doesn't matter what happens, he can have no bouts left. I mean, you know, Sergio Martinez, I think, lost his bout, didn't he, one stage? But we all knew that he was still the guy in the division, and it is annoying when you see guys like Glasscoff and guys like that who will hold world titles. You know, Bermain Stefan's another one. They're not very good, but they're going to have the opportunity now. You know, fair play to them, but they're going to be holding world titles now, and people are going to be, you know, it's going to be a fragmented title scene again, and it's the mess that the world titles give you, unfortunately, and it's always going to happen once a dominant champion loses, because I think Fury, he said he's all about the money, and you know he'll go for the Klitschko rematch, and I don't think he'll care anything about the bouts, to be honest. But just one last thing on the rematch. I suppose you're all picking Fury to win, but how does Vlad win the rematch? Can he win the rematch?
Throw a punch.
yeah, well, as I say, put it this way: how desperate was he when, but midway through that 11th round, he threw that upper that headbutt, and Weeks is looking straight at it, and then about 30 seconds later, Weeks is taking a point off Fury for hitting behind the head. To be honest, I would, even though I did say that it would be a frustrating fight, I did think on Saturday night, I was expecting Vlad to get him late, but now has Fury just, you know, the way he went about his business, and I don't mean just the fight itself, I mean the whole way he carried himself through training camp, all those press conferences and stuff like that, he proved that he was not going to be fucked with, and I think the issue with the ring, really, I should have seen it then. The issue with the ring really hit it home when they decided they were not going to be fucked with. They were going to move that ring, they were going to change it, or there was no fight. And what happened? They changed it. And then what was quite funny, actually, if you've seen Vitaly Klitschko get interviewed, they gave it that wee kind of snidey sneer. Let's see what Tyson Fury does in ring tonight. What happens? He's shut down. But yeah, I think Fury would probably take the rematch. I just think mentally he's crawled right inside Vladimir Klitschko's head, camped out and took a shit. So I don't think there's nothing he can do about that.
The fight was like an older champion getting beat by the younger, fresher, more hungry opponent, I felt. But for me, I mean, if you look at the fight stats, I mean, I know punch stats and everything, but Klitschko lost his title losing to an opponent who landed 7 punches around. I mean, so in that respect, he has to let his hands go. I mean, it's not like he was absolutely destroyed, you know, hit with bombs galore, totally out the fight. He lost because he didn't throw, really, because of Fury's head movement and feints, and, you know, he threw him off his guard. But at the end of the day, it must kill him knowing he lost to a guy who landed 7 punches around. I mean, 82 punches, I believe Tyson Fury landed, which it's remarkable. You know, no one would have expected that, to be honest. But in terms of the rematch, it's surely going to be better because Fury's going to be more confident, and Klitschko knows what he knows what he has to throw.
Yeah, that's the thing. Klitschko has got to put it on the line. I mean, this jab, just break opponents down and then decide, okay, he's totally broken up. I can now step in. He's not going to be able to do that with Fury. He's not got the range for it. So he needs to fucking throw caution to the wind. He needs to decide, what is he, a boxer or is he a true fighter? And we're not going to mention or say his credentials as a champion is shit. Some people will point to a weak era and stuff like that, but at some point in your life as a boxer, you've got to fight. Now, we saw him get off the canvas against Peter 3 times. That, to me, proved that he has got a fighting heart there, so he needs to locate it again. And as I say, if Manny Stewart had been in that corner with him Saturday night rather than Jonathan Banks, he would have had a rocket up his fart box, and he would have been coming out of that fucking 11th and 12th round swinging like fuck. I would think so anyway. But it wasn't there. Either he couldn't do it, he's too old, or he's just too scared.
I mean, massive credit to Fury. Great game plan and great execution, but I still think even after last week, his chin is unproven, and it's Klitschko's fault for not testing it, and it's Fury's credit for staying out of the way. But it's still his chin is still unproven. So if Vladimir comes with it's going to be a tough ask for Vladimir to change his style in such manner that he throws his 1-2 when it's perfectly ready for him. His opponent is stationary, Vladimir's feet are set, and it's perfectly ready for him. Tyson didn't let him do that, and he possibly could repeat that in the rematch, no problem. But Klitschko's, he's going to have to go away from that style and waiting for that perfect moment that he's been doing for 11 years and beyond. Is he at 39 and with limited Jonathan Banks? Maybe a disrespectful comment. Has he got it in him to change that? I don't think he has.
But the thing with Jonathan Banks is, this is when you think Vitali would come into play as the big brother. We know Vitali's a hard bastard. We know, what Vitali says, his brother listens. You'd expect Vitali to be more vocal in the corner, and I'm actually expecting it more in the rematch. I mean, there's been talk about Jonathan Banks actually being replaced for the fight. A trainer's not going to teach him anything new, but he needs a Teddy Atlas type guy in the corner who's, going to give him that rocket. I mean, is Vitali just there to do that, or should he get someone else? And who is that? Paul.
I just think it's a little bit overblown, really. I just think that Klitschko got it wrong on the night. I thought the ring was far too big. I thought that, he just didn't seem to be able to react to what Fury was doing. Fury wasn't doing a whole lot of anything. He was just boxing and moving, and he managed to do it for 36 minutes. And it took 33 minutes for Klitschko to actually wake up and throw a couple of punches. In the rematch, I mean, if people say who would you pick? On the basis of that fight, you could only really pick Fury. But if Vladimir doesn't wait, like I said, it was the 11th round till he landed a straight right hand. He cannot possibly fight, and that's why the criticism of Fury, that he probably should have got a stoppage because he was getting nothing in return. So if Klitschko throws his hands, Klitschko knocks him out, like I said before the first fight happened. But
The fire brigade. Teddy Atlas is needed.
Hmm.
I was going.
But
we're fire.
That's what he needs. But you'd think Vitali's the guy to do that. I mean, even if Banks is there to give the instruction, and Vitali, if things not going right, he's got to be the guy. I mean, you saw after the fight was over when Tyson was singing in the ring. Vitali looked like he wanted to rip people's heads off. I mean, that's the type of guy he is. So I think he said straight away, didn't he, that Vladimir responds well to losses. He bounces back, and I think he'll be pushing him more than anyone to take the rematch and go into the fight and give it everything.
But Vladimir doesn't need it's not a training situation for me. He's done this long enough. I think when you get to that level, that the trainer only plays a part role. I think he was in shape. There was no doubt that he was physically not capable. Well, he was physically capable during the fight. He was in good shape. He'd taken the fight seriously. He was the only person, as much as Jonathan Banks and Vitaly Klitschko, it's the old cliche, they can't throw punches for him. They can tell him he's got to let his shots go. But Banks was, I mean, the first 5 or 6 rounds, Banks didn't have much urgency about him, and you kept telling him to double up the jab when that was all he was doing anyway. But in the latter part of the fight, he told him he was behind, he told him he needed a knockout. He told him to let his hands go, and it's going to be all down to Vladimir. Like I said, I said before the fight, whether it be a good fight or not would be completely down to Vladimir's approach, and I'll say exactly the same thing about the rematch. Again, Tyson Fury doesn't need to do anything different, doesn't need to do anything exciting. He just needs to fight that same single-paced box and move way that, like I said, bored the pants off a lot of people, but it was extremely effective. Vladimir wants to win his belts back. He's got to let his flipping hands go. And if he doesn't, then more fall him. And I think he will, of all the people he's fought, of all the athletes he's fought, the fact that he's lost to a guy like Fury must frustrate him. And he must think that, even at his age, he can still beat this guy. But like I say, it just depends on what version of him shows up. He can stick with Jonathan Banks. It won't make a difference. He's got Vitaly in his ear anyway. He knows what he needs to do. It's just going to be down to him again whether he can execute it. And at the minute, I really don't know whether he's still got that drive within him to do so.
Right, lads. This is the present of the heavyweight division. Let's move on to the future of not only the heavyweight division, but boxing in general. Anthony Joshua, Dylan Whyte. We've seen the face-off rubbish. I thought it was crap, to be honest.
I've not seen it.
Well, Adam, I was just gonna mention something to you. I was just gonna ask Adam something about that because in the last few days we heard that the Magic Man, Paulie Malignaggi, is going to be on the bill, which is going to drive pay-per-view sales. And then I hear Adam say he's not going to be purchasing. I just want to know what's going on.
Yeah, I've got some breaking news for. I'm the last person of the asylum to officially join Team Stream. I found a successful avenue to...
Finally, we got there in the end. We finally threw you over to the dark side, mate.
But I still love Carl Froch. I've found a successful avenue to obtain the pictures without paying, and that's the strategy I'll be taking on December the 12th.
I'm just disillusioned, to be honest. I'm still struggling to find out. I know we've been over it. Still struggling to weigh up why this is pay-per-view, and the only conclusion I can come to, and even the supporters, i.e. Eddie and Sky, seem to be accepting this and not arguing against it because we can. That is the only reason. That is the only reason December the 12th is pay-per-view, because we can, and it will do big numbers, and it did sell out within hours because it is the Anthony Joshua factor. And as I've said for a few months, I treat Matchroom / Sky. I split them into two: Anthony Joshua and everyone else, and I mean everyone, including Brook, DeGale, Selby. It's Joshua and everyone else.
Well, it's true, and like I said, you compare it to that May card. I still protested that May shouldn't be pay-per-view because I don't think pay-per-view should exist in any form. However, that May card had, what was it, 2 world title fights, or was it 3? Was it 3 world title fights? Selby, Brook,
Mitchell.
Gavin, and Mitchell. So 3 legit world title fights. 2 foreign guys coming to the UK to defend their belts or fight for their titles. You know, these are all the previous excuses were given about why pay-per-view is required. You know, because you've got to bring champions over, you've got to get the people, you've got to pay for them to come to the UK to fight, and then you've got 3 world titles on the bill. That big Russia card, multiple world titles or final eliminators with really interesting, good 50-50 matchups that went on for hours and hours and hours. This December show will offer better value for money in terms of content and the fights than last Saturday did, because there was no undercard to that and it was just one 36-minute jab fest. However, this shouldn't be pay-per-view at all. Joshua Whyte is bigger because of Joshua than, say, Callum Smith, Rocky Fielding, but it's exactly the same fight as Callum Smith, Rocky Fielding. You know, Joshua, the best I can see with the bookies, sort of like I say, depends on the best or the worst, odds you can get is Joshua 14-1 on. Most places have got him 20-1 on to win. You know, it's not even competitive, and it won't be. The chief support, Chris Eubank Jr. versus Spike O'Sullivan. It's the battle of the guys who have been beaten by Billy Joe Saunders.
One thing you're forgetting, we've got to look forward to. We're going to see history being created on that night.
The most exciting cruiserweight in the world.
No.
The biggest prick in the country.
No.
Oh, okay.
The fake Italian.
Nagi gets his chance to win the European title against.
That's like me fighting for the frigging African title.
Like a 40-year-old fighter called Gianluca Branco.
I saw someone tweet last night. Frankie Gavin tweeted last night saying he thinks Malignaggi is going to knock him out. So you've not watched many Malignaggi fights, have you, Frank?
What is he, 42 or something like that?
He is. Didn't he draw his last, if I remember? I mean,
no, he's won his last 6, I think.
Well, that fight's been thrown onto the... I mean, like I said, they're going to have to start the show damn early because there's a lot of 12-round fights. And this is what we're going to have to sit through, right? And we none of us will be paying for it, but we all get 24 rounds of Josh Warrington and Paulie Malignaggi. Just think about that. That's going to be the lead-in to pay-per-view. Bellew Masterneck may be a good fight. I quite like that fight. Kevin Mitchell against Barossa. I mean, for, again, the WBA nothing title.
Mitchell will stop him, by the way.
Yeah, Luke Campbell against Mendy, who's never done anything, never fought anyone, you know, an old French champion. Like, there isn't a world title on the bill. There's a British title and a final eliminator for a regular WBA belt, not a genuine regular BA belt, the regular title. Sorry, the Panamanian, sorry. This doesn't count, it's a midweek show.
Ban him.
But it's £17. £17 to watch a British title fight. I don't care how big Joshua is. Do you think the way to grow Joshua is to stick him on pay-per-view this early? It's an absolute joke. And even though the show will last 6 hours, it's not good value for money because this year is the worst pay-per-view lineup that Sky have put on in their Matchroom era. And it may be exciting, it may be good, but it shouldn't be pay-per-view at all. And I don't think anything should, but this is exactly the kind of thing where they could have made Joshua Whyte with regular Sky money. No problem at all. Sold out arena, stick Mitchell on the undercard, forget about the rest. I don't want to see Josh Warrington in this sort of a fight. Who cares? Stick him on in Leeds where he normally fights. He's not needed, and yet we're paying for that.
Just in honour of Alex Morris, who's not with us at the minute, can someone use the C word in regard to Matchroom and Sky, please?
I think you should do it, Adam. I think you've gone off the team stream now, so I think you should do it.
I've said that word once too many on Saturday, so
yes, we don't want to hear it from Andy again.
Do you know all it is? We're paying for Eddie Hearn's kids' Christmas presents. That's what they're doing. And it's to pay for all the fighters, all these guys who come up to Eddie in October, because he's just happened and say, right, can you get me out again before Christmas, please?
Oh, wait a minute, aye.
Well, I can't because there's no show in your area. No worries, we'll just build a big pay-per-view up, Josh, Tony, and Luke, and we'll just stick you on this show. How does that sound? Sounds good, lads. Cheers. Merry Christmas. At the fight fans' expense.
Yeah, I think Paul's right. I mean, the best fight on the card is on paper the Bellew Masnick fight, but Andy, you know that could turn out to be a real stinker in all honesty, couldn't it?
It could do, mate, in all honesty, but well, you know what Bellew's like. He is going to fight KG off the back foot. I mean, we see through the facade, shall we say. I mean, he's going to come out and kill some cunt. That's not going to happen. That's just not who he is at cruiserweight because he's caught between the two weights. I was trying to remember if it was Masternak I actually saw. It was actually against Kalinga. They actually pushed him quite close. It was quite a close fight, and they did put it on Kalinga, but to be honest, I just think it was Kalinga's more powerful shots, and he actually had that defeat against Johnny Miller or Muller. I think he's actually faced off against Usyk. Was it a final eliminator for WBO title, I think, and then he's beat that Carlos Nascimento.
Yeah, most felt he beat that Muller, but it was a bit of a robbery one. I think
yeah,
he
it
dropped
was in South Africa as well, mate. I thought, yeah, I remember. No, you mentioned that, mate. I remember that now. Was there no some sort? Both fighters traded power shots for 9 rounds. Masternak appeared to outwork Muller, so the decision was somewhat questionable. However, Muller, his face bruised, clearly won the 10th round in the bout as Masternak appeared tired at that point. As I say, I think you've probably seen Masternak probably put the pressure on him, but I think Tony's, his crab movement and his jab, you basically use his box, and if he gets the knockout, then good and well. But I can see a points victory for Bellew here.
But it is a big step up for Bellew, considering he's, who he's been in with. I mean, Rudolph and Nathan Cleverly. Obviously, Nathan didn't even turn up, did he? But like I said, if they both go to trade punches, it'll be a great fight, like a lot of cruiserweight fights are. But you just got a feeling it's going to be a very cagey one, which is a shame. But on paper, it's you can't really grudge that fight. Another thing we wanted to talk about was basically what's going on with Kell, Brook and Amir Khan. Adam, where are these two? Are they going to meet next year, or are they going to be in more crappy fights that no one cares about?
I think Kell Brook will definitely be in more crappy fights that no one cares about. He's had an absolute disaster since winning that title. Call the stabbing incident what you want. It happened. Obviously, it was a setback. He's fought a mandatory Frankie Gavin, then no one. I've said many times that we've been promised Premier League and we've been delivered League One. Now it looks like we're going to get another mandatory. They have not capitalised on the departure of Mr. Mayweather and Mr. Pacquiao. They should have been capitalising on that. They should have been capitalising and making Kell Brook, when they depart, I know Pacquiao's got one fight left, whoever that may be, when they depart, the light should shine on Kell Brook on both sides of the Atlantic. Kell Brook is good. I like Kell Brook. I think he's a really good fighter, but he has been completely mismanaged. He has been unlucky with injuries, or so we're led to believe. That's fair enough, but it's no way near good enough. It is no way near good enough. They must be paying him or offering to pay him massive sums of money to stop him going over to Mr. Heyman. De Gale's done it, and he's coming back with his paycheck, and still got his belt. He hasn't been wildly impressive, but De Gale has almost set the blueprint for Brook to follow. As for Amir Khan, I mean, I don't even know how you can support the fella. I mean, he's just not doing anything. It just comes off as me. It sounds like me hating on him again. But I mean, apparently Pacquiao's going to make a decision for Friday. We all know that Bob Arum doesn't want Pacquiao to pick Khan for obvious reasons, which is fine. He'll still be chasing Floyd Mayweather when he's 45.
See, to be honest, you think Eddie Hearn's doing the old bait and switch again? I mean, he was talking about Tim Bradley for Kell Brook. Was it yesterday? I think it was. Now today he's mentioning Amir Khan again. So, and then you just know what's going to happen. He's going to end up fighting Kevin Busy as a fucking mandatory. So,
yeah. And it was said. Sorry to interrupt. It was said they took the Jojo Dan mandatory early.
Yeah.
So they could get the big fight. So they could get the Rios. So they could. Who looks like he's now retired. So they could get. They're still mentioning Marquez. I never really bought that. So Bradley, there was all mentioned, and now it's not their fault that Bizier is the IBF mandatory again. It looks horrible on record. He's been beaten by Dan twice. It's not their fault, but it is their fault for not doing anything, this year. This year's been a nightmare for Kell Brook, absolute nightmare. And I asked a question the other day. It was a bit, bit cheeky, but would Kell Brook, if he'd have signed for Frank Warren the day after he beat Sean Porter, would he have done more than what has happened? And probably yes.
But it's a typical Hearn tactic, isn't it? Oh, the next fight will be a big one, but we're doing this fight now because it's always an excuse. This one's a mandatory. Well, you got fair enough, but they fought Frankie Gavin, terrible fight, absolutely ridiculous fight. No one cared about seeing it. But then they said, oh, the next fight it's going to be Brandon Rios, which I didn't think was a particularly good fight either. I mean, I called him a walking punch bag many times, and Team Bradley showed he was. I mean, can you imagine Kell Brook in with Brandon Rios? I mean, he could have put him in the hospital, couldn't he? Seriously. But they got the Chavez fight, which I actually thought, it was a decent fight. I know people are going to be pissed off because he fought Dan and Gavin, but Chavez, he's shown that he's capable against guys. He might have lost, but he can be dangerous. But now that fight's not even going to happen because he's injured, and now that fight's been dumped now, and now he's going in with Bizia, who is pretty crap, to be honest, and it's just another wasted fight. I just think it's all good and well having a world title and being a world champion, but if you're just fighting crappy mandatories time after time and not having a big fight, what is the bout worth anything?
I just think they're just trying to trade off Bradley's name. I mean, okay, put it this way, I think it was Adam that mentioned there, they're probably throwing silly money at Brook. I mean, there's rumours going about that something to do with the pay-per-view. Remember when the Klitschko fight initially got called off because of the dates and stuff like that, and then Brook got injured. There was some issue, I think, or some people were claiming something to do with the pay-per-view money. I mean, Bradley made $1.9 million for his last fight. I estimate that's about $1.25 million in pounds. So if Bradley's to get that minimum, so say $2 million for instance, what the hell is Brook going to make, or what's he going to have to settle for? I mean, he's claiming he's a champion, but if you look at Bradley, who's got the better pedigree and the better resume, so you're going to look at it and say, well, Brook says, oh, okay, I want the same, so you're going to have to then say, right, okay, so there needs to be a pay-per-view. You're talking like something similar money here to what for Kessler, for Hearn had to pay Kessler to get him over here to the UK for the Frotch rematch, and that was in the 02. So you're just wondering, what is Brook going to have to settle for here financially? Because
and you got to remember as well, we can all go on about how great a fight Bradley against Brook would be over here. It's a great fight, but in terms of a pay-per-view, Ballew Cleverly and Joshua Whyte will probably do more than that would, because the casuals who Matchroom use, they don't really know who Tim Bradley is. He's not a big puncher. He's not anything known to them. At least with these domestic fights, which is what Hearn likes doing, he knows they'll sell because the casuals buy into it. Tim Bradley, we all know, is a great fighter, and that's a great fight. But to Hearn, he's going to be paying a lot of money to get Bradley over for a fight that pay-per-view that Sky can hype all they want. But is it going to do much more than these type of domestic fights? If it does at all, I'm not too sure, to be honest. And that's the problem for Brook. And if he's not going to get the Khan fight,
the thing is, you've had the likes of Bunce saying, for instance, that I don't know if it was Chad Dawson he was referring to, or maybe Tim Bradley, that Tim Bradley couldn't sell out his living room. So if that is the case, Tim Bradley isn't known over here unless people, some casuals remember what he did against Pacquiao in the first fight. Which, to be honest, wasn't very much apart from breaking his ankles. As you say, I don't think it's a big. It's not a big pay-per-view fight over here, shall we say? I mean, for us, it's a big fight because it's Bradley. We know what Bradley's like. We know what Brook can do and stuff like that. For us, it's a big-ish fight. Pay-per-view wise, I'm not so sure.
But Khan is obviously doing what he's been doing for the last few years, but now it's Pacquiao, isn't it? He's waiting for confirmation. I think Pacquiao is going to take the Crawford fight. I think that's what people are saying anyway. That's what it looks like. So if that's confirmed in the next few weeks, where does Khan go? Does he now? I mean, is he going to be forced to take the Brook fight, or does he have another tune-up kind of fight and then take Brook fight in the summer? What do you reckon, Adam?
Khan's that much of an idiot, and I've said this for a while, that he won't face Brook out of spite. I mean, we've heard some excuses in our time. We've heard some excuses for not taking fights or for being injured, etc. But saying that you don't want to give someone a payday is plain daft. It is plain daft. And you know what? People like our friend Aisha lap it up. We don't want to give Kell Brook the payday. Who gives a toss about how much Kell Brook or Amir Khan are being paid? Who cares? Just get the fight on. He's going to come over, There's a belt on the line. He's going to be on pay-per-view and get paid a shed load of money. He's going to be pleasing Sky, and he's going to be pleasing the British fans that he's deserted for years and years. Why wouldn't you do it? But anyway, I'll just get accused of hating on Khan again, but he is a
Adam sounds a bit angry there, don't you think? He seems to have a bit of a bee in his bonnet for Amir.
I think as well, he's got his missus in the background trying to make his tea for him, you know, and he's under pressure to get off his
I
call.
was just bringing serious points there, and you lot have just dismissed it.
Can I just rewind back to the Tyson Fury bit with IBF? Just checked the IBF website. They've actually got their heavyweight title now classed as vacant.
Well,
they weren't long to make their move, eh?
That is really poor.
It's surprising as well because, like someone else said, I mean, they'll make more money off the Klitschko rematch. So who cares about them? Just they can go in the Panamanians. We can just.
Does Oliver Holt work for the IBF?
Holly Holt.
I think we need a show to just trash him as well, don't we, in the midweek? But
no.
just on these two, I mean, let's just say they don't get the Pacquiao fight, and their fight doesn't happen. If it does till the summer, who would you like to see him in with? I mean, Brook looks like he's gonna have to fight Kevin Bizier, which is just a terrible fight. Who can Khan possibly fight?
Realistically, so you thinking about a move up to 154? You're just gonna hang about at 147. So. I mean, obviously the Danny Garcia rematch, but that's not going to happen anytime soon. You'll be looking at the summertime before that fight happens after he faces off against short Robert Guerrero. Maidana looks like he could fight for the super heavyweight division. Sean Porter, I wouldn't mind seeing it. Keith Thurman, I would definitely like to see that. I'd love to see a Lamont Peterson rematch. I actually watched the first fight again there maybe about 2 weeks ago, and I actually forgot as to how good a fight it was. I know that just with the referee situation aside and the bullshit that went on with the scorecards and stuff, it was actually a fucking very good fight, and I wouldn't mind seeing it again in all honesty. Other than that, if they kind of get Pacquiao, there's not really much else unless he wants to get schooled off Errol Spence.
But the thing is, what has Amir Khan done to piss off Uncle Hal? I mean, we've got Danny Garcia going in with Guerrero. We've got Porter and Thurman looking like they're going to be matched. He hasn't got the Mayweather fight. Heyman, he went there to get the Mayweather fight, and he can't get even fights like Garcia and Thurman. I mean, so what has he done to him?
I think it is. He's just hasn't learned to keep his mouth shut. I think that's purely how he didn't get the Floyd fight, and I think this is the reason why he's not getting any other big fights. I think he's been told when the QT to keep quiet. I don't know if Khan's just maybe thought that's maybe to the American press, but then he's come back over here and he's just started letting I mean, you need to remember, Amir Khan once mentioned this, I'm sick and tired talking about Floyd Mayweather, I'm not going to speak about it again. 2 days later, what does he do? He speaks about Floyd Mayweather. 3 days after that, Floyd Mayweather. Day after that, Mayweather. 2 days after that, Floyd Mayweather. He doesn't learn, and I've spoken to people in the industry who all say the same thing. Amir Khan is thick as fucking pig shit. He doesn't learn from his mistakes.
He's not the sharpest, is he?
He isn't. I mean, Chris, I've got fucking like a blade for like 30 years ago. It's actually fucking sharper than Amir Khan. It's tragic, man. Listen, it's beyond laughable as to what Amir Khan's done with his career. The second half of his career and stuff. Looking in good shape, slightly suspect in my opinion, but that's for another day. I know Alex would probably agree with me, and a couple others who would probably back me up on that one as well. But no, I mean he's doing nothing with his career. Absolutely nothing.
I mean, how many times has he fought in the past 3 years? It's not been much, has it?
4 times, maybe 4 times. I'll just get his record up just now.
I mean, Adam, he's wasting his ass for years. I mean, is he gonna just get the Brook fight and then just that'll be it for him if he loses? Do you think?
Well, I don't think he'll fight Brook. So, and I think that he would get knocked out. If he did. Will it be if he loses?
So why don't you think he'd take the payday? Do you think it's because he believes he'd get knocked out by Kell?
Either he thinks he'll lose, but I don't actually believe that. I believe he loses, but I don't think he necessarily does. I do genuinely think that he's that much of an idiot that he would just turn it down to spite Kell Brook and Eddie Hearn. I honestly do. He's that much of an idiot with all that money on the line, the belt. And he thinks it's a 50-50 fight. It's a very close fight. It's not like he's going in with, I don't know. It's not like someone's really out of their depth. It's a very close fight. Amir Khan is a very, very good fighter. We just don't get to see him enough.
Good.
Right, I'm going to have my dinner.
Right, so I think that's it on this impromptu show. Then I think Paul has had another power cut, so he's
He has.
gone. The wrath of God.
50 pence is the meter, Paul.
Alex has Judas us for the night. I think he's gone on another podcast. We will never mention them. They're like the Panamanians to us.
Yeah.
So I'd like to thank Andy Patterson, Adam Smith. I've been your host, Kurt Ward. We'll see you on Sunday for another live show. Thanks a lot.
Call for Roch, too big, too strong.
Wanker.